Marxism 104. Bourgeois exchange. In our last video we identified the nature of commodities, but how exactly are they exchanged in the bourgeois capitalist world? Firstly, we need two owners of commodities. The commodities exist within the market, and must represent the will of their owners. Each owner must recognize the other's private ownership. When the two consent to do an exchange, it is a legal act of contract between the two owners. An owner is but the personification of the economic relations between commodities. And that economic relation between commodities is, as we saw in the previous video, that each commodity looks at every other as a measurement of its own value created by socially necessary labor time. For the owner of the commodity, he must have no use value in his own commodity, otherwise he would use it, and not bring it to market. It must however have use value for other owners. For the owner it has only use value as a depository of exchange value, a means of exchange. When exchanging, the owner exchanges for something of use value to him, and sells that of no use value to him, but of use to the buyer. The exchange allows the exchange value of a commodity to be realized. Thus, since one must realize exchange value before one possesses an object, the quantitative exchange value must be realized first. And use value is realized after the exchange. But remember, without use value it is not a commodity, and the commodity being sold absolutely must have use value to potential buyers. The fact that something is exchanged proves it has use value. One exchanges only to obtain something of use value to him, and realize the value of his commodity in another. He does not care if it has no use value to another, it is taken for granted if it is sold. In this way, exchange to the owner is both a public and a private affair. In the simplest sense, the owner's commodity is the universal equivalent of all the others, and so will pay for all the others with a quantity of his own commodity. But there is no general form here, and owners exchange impulsively, but intuitively are referring to a universal equivalent. And while initially this can be the owner's own commodity, it must eventually become set apart and function as a universal equivalent excluded by the rest, with equivalent use values set in comparison to it. Thus money is formed by necessity and stands apart, so that we have commodities on the one side and money on the other. Each commodity is a use value, and money is how one expresses their exchange value. They are exchanged when the use value is gone for the owner, and the owner of another commodity recognizes him as a private owner of an alienable commodity. This first historically arose not within communities, but with their relations to external communities. The constant repetition of this exchange makes it a normal social act, and it takes its place within the communities. When this happens, within the community some commodities are produced purely for exchange, and there is a firmly established recognition of products of utility and of exchange. The quantitative proportion of exchangeability is dependent on their production, and custom stamps them with their exchange value magnitudes, or prices. Commodities are equivalents insofar as use value exists in them. The need for a universal equivalent, and its arising, must occur simultaneously. Commodities cannot be exchanged on a large scale without them being equated to one special article. The universal equivalent at first takes different forms, until it is crystallized in the money form. Money first attaches itself to chief portions of alienable wealth, like cattle. Thus nomads develop money first since they have the most alienable products, and come into contact with many other races. Eventually humans can become equivalents in pre-bourgeois society as slaves. Precious metals are however most fitted to perform the social function of the universal equivalent. Gold and silver are easily divided and smelted back together. They represent purely quantitative differences. Gold does maintain its original use value, and its specific social function as money. All commodities are particular commodities, whereas money is the universal equivalent. Money is discovered to be a commodity only for those who start from its fully developed shape. Exchange gives money its specific value form. Money is not imaginary, or a pure symbol, but the forms under which social relations manifest themselves. If it were imaginary, then the value of all commodities is imaginary. Bourgeois economists unable to account for the social relations formed by it declare that they are arbitrary fictions sanctioned by universal consent of mankind. But no, the value of gold as money is determined by labor time. The difficulty lies not in that gold as money is a commodity, but how it becomes money. It appeared that money has that form by nature, but we found how it is a universal equivalent form, and then a money form. It is that all commodities universally express their values in gold, that it is money. The riddle of money is just the riddle of commodities. This is an acceptance of Adam Smith's hidden hand, that the coercive profit-seeking nature of capital occurs regardless of individual desires and wishes in a market. Autonomous individuals acting the market would be led to produce a social result, when mediated through the hidden hand of the market, to go down to benefit all. Bourgeois economists say capitalism can create a socially just and dynamic utopia if you can get the state out of the way, and ignore monopoly creation, only let the market do its work. If we accept the conditions of the utopian dream, the question is, does it really benefit everybody? No, it will just benefit the bourgeoisie, and it will screw the workers. The closer to liberal markets we get, the greater the environmental and labor qualities are degraded. But this is proven in their own terms, within the bourgeois classical economic conditions which they dreamed of themselves. If things stated are unrealistic, they are because that is how the liberal bourgeois economists imagine it. We will see that Marx's analysis becomes much more elegant than anything dreamed up by the bourgeoisie. To see how, all you have to do is subscribe.